How Trump is going to wipe $1 trillion of debt away. And it's brilliant, dude. It's freaking brilliant. If he does this, even more legendary status, GOAT status achieved. Anyway, so this is Stephanie Kelton writing her Substack. Stephanie, she's cute, and she's an economics professor and big lib at Stony Brook. I actually like Stephanie sometimes. I mean, she's a big lib, don't get me wrong, and but she's kind of assumed the I don't think she has assumed it, but basically she's assumed the mantra of modern monetary theory. And take it for what it is. It's fine. But just because she's a lib doesn't mean there's not stuff you can learn. You can learn from libs. You can learn from right wingers. You can learn from many, many different people. And this is one of the things I think is fantastic. So she says this right here. Check this out. As reported in the Financial Times, one of the assets that might be slated for monetization scheme is gold. The idea is that the U.S. Treasury could revalue America's gold stocks, which are currently valued at only $42 an ounce. If they were accounted for at the current market values, around $2,800 an ounce, that would inject $800 billion into the Treasury account via a repurchase agreement. In terms of the accounting benefits, the maneuver comes pretty darn close to $1 trillion platinum coin. It may sound crazy, but it wouldn't be the first time the Treasury turned to Fort Knox to find money. So what Trump would do is he says, hey, he'd go down to revalue the amount of gold that's at Fort Knox. He'd say, can you believe it? We're valuing all this gold at $42 an ounce? How crazy is that? Which will help Trump justify an accounting maneuver that essentially uses gold instead of platinum to event cash for the Treasury. And here's what happened. This is reported in the New York Times, 1953. U.S. reduces debt with found gold. As the New York Times reported, when the U.S. went off the gold standard in 1933, the metal was priced at $20 an ounce. And the nation owned about $4 billion worth of that price. After its revaluation at $35 an ounce, however, the same quantity of gold was worth nearly $7 billion. Okay. By devaluing the U.S. dollar, i.e. revaluing gold, President FDR found the cash equivalent to $2.8 billion in the form of gold. As the Times noted, it was merely a bookkeeping item, but part of the free gold was used to meet the nation's subscription to the World Bank and the IMF. The remaining $1 trillion was carried on the Treasury's books until 1953, when half of it was monetized to avert the nation's first debt ceiling crisis. So, what's a debt ceiling? You can't have debt above a certain threshold. Well, debt to what? Assets. Assets. Interesting. So if we're only valuing our assets at $42 an ounce, it's almost like mark-to-market accounting, essentially. If we're only valuing our assets at $42 an ounce, if we revalue those assets, our asset base goes significantly, which means we can issue more debt backed by those assets. Anyway, so she got her thing here from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, right here, staff report. Anyway, here's an excerpt, and I can't wait to read this. I haven't read it yet. The solution to the debt crisis involved a stock of almost $1 billion of free gold. That is gold coin and bullion in treasury vaults in which gold certificates had not been issued. The free gold was what remained of the $2 billion. We were talking about that. On Monday, November 9th, the Treasury announced it had monetized $500 million of its free gold by issuing gold certificates against the gold and depositing those certificates with the Federal Reserve, and that had used the resulting credits to repurchase directly from the Open Market Committee $500 million of Treasury notes expiring in December. The action did not affect monetary policy. It merely replaced one asset, the Treasury notes, with another gold certificate. So they're able to basically pay down debt of $500 million. Once the Treasury bought back $500 million in outstanding debt, the securities were canceled and hence no longer subject to the debt ceiling limit. So basically Trump says, oh, we're just going to replace these, we're just going to give the Treasury, or I guess the Federal Reserve, whatever, we're going to give them $1 trillion of gold certificates, and instead we're going to take off $1 trillion of debt and cancel it like it never existed. It's freaking brilliant. Let's see. Once the Treasury bought back $500 million debt, the securities are canceled, hence no longer subject to the ceiling limit. Many scholars have long argued that $1 trillion platinum coin could be used to accomplish the whole thing today. If I'm right about the president's motivations, I don't think he's planning to use free gold the way past presidents have done. I suspect that Fort Knox visit is really about parlaying the gains from a revaluation of the gold stock into some new scheme, a sovereign wealth fund, strategic Bitcoin reserve, or both that will have nothing to do with making America great again. I don't care. I just think he just pays off the debt. He says, Debt's gone, just like what's done in the past. We just reduced the debt by $1 trillion. But Josh, the debt's 35 trillion. Hey, we just reduced it by $1 trillion with that one simple thing, but revaluing the gold. Why would you not do that? Frankly, what I would do is I was saying, okay, we got to fix Social Security. We're going to revalue the gold, and we're going to use those assets to replenish Social Security. Easy. I mean, if you got all that money, you can do whatever you want with it, man, essentially. It was inflationary. Or was it in 1950s? Would you have massive inflation? We just didn't do it. We can see in the so this happened in 1953. What happened in inflation in the 1950s? You want to predict if they're massive or not? Let's see, 1950s inflation. Negative right here, 1953, 0.8, 0.8, negative 1.5, 3.3, 2.9, 0.7. Definitely not hugely inflationary, dudes. Yeah, I think it's great. This dude, because it's all fake. The whole thing's fake. The gold standard will save us. The whole thing is fake, but it is. It might be fake, but it is. This is what we live under. So we're giving us, this is the basis of the modern monetary theories, by the way. And again, some of which I agree with, some of which I don't. But they recognize what everybody else seems afraid to recognize. It's all fake. It's just accounting gimmicks. Never mind the off-budget debt that we have obligations to, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and things. That's not even part of the $35 trillion of debt. And yet here we are. Still, after all these years of massive debts, massive deficits on top of deficits, on top of deficits, which adds to the debt, we're still functioning. It's crazy because it's just monetary games. As long as the economic engine is still kicking alive and screaming, we're going to be fine. It's the issue is when the economic engine stops. And how you get that to stop is just following what Germany's doing with getting rid of their manufacturing, getting rid of their cheap electricity, and basically pricing everybody out of production because they can't afford their insane Green New Deal stuff because they've been smoking too much ganja. God bless. Love your thoughts. Smash that like button. We'll see you